a case for 10 years, 20 years, yet there are no tangible results. You are wasting public money, as you said. You are wasting human resources.
Agreeing with me now.
You are wasting human resources. No, I'm not agreeing with you. But I'm just giving you a Solomonic way out of what you are just saying. Because I don't think it is also in the interest or the happiness of the DPP or as a prosecutor to drop some of these charges. Even myself and a number of Kenyans would want to see some of convictions if somebody has committed an offense. And you remember the president has said this. He is committed to the rule of law and the constitution. And that is why, by the way, let me give an example so that Senator Ledama Olekina becomes happy. When the president suggested an increment in terms of NSSF, some people went to court. Now the court have ruled that we can increase, and the president has proposed, let's go to parliament and amend the NSSF Act. So there are mechanisms that can be done in terms of ensuring that there are processes of ensuring that in the fight against corruption. One, in Kenya, the laws that are used to fight corruption are enough. It is providing the necessary resources, the necessary mechanisms, and it has the blessings of the president. I can confirm to the country that the president is very keen in ensuring that corruption is fought in this country. And I've given an example, and allow me to repeat, and I'm sorry to repeat this, that the operationalization of judiciary fund is a master stroke, so that the judiciary will have their own from the consolidated fund. The IG will have eye holder and independence in terms of access of resources. So it will not be pleasing some individuals within the executive so that they are given money to do their job. So that is what we are just saying. So I think what Senator Ledama Olekina and his individuals, they just want to sensationalize, they want to bastardize the government of the day simply because it's convenient. And I'm happy at least Baba has come out to also work around. So it is good, and by the way, as I concluded before sitting ground to my brother, the president himself and even Kenya Kwanza government have said they are ready to be accountable. They are ready for vibrant and exuberant. And the way you look, Ledama Olekina, is ready for oversight. I hope he doesn't use the rungo. He will use the other mechanisms.
Ledama, let me ask you this question. The president and his deputy have repeatedly said that they inherited a dilapidated economy. Is that true, or is that an excuse?
That's an excuse. And I'll answer it this way. The president was part of the former government. He was the deputy president of this country, you know. And the truth be told, there's a lot of gains from the former government. And now, in life, you have to accept that if you want good things and you want fine things, you must be ready to pay for them. People are now happy with the expressway. You know, a lot of people send out information out there and to say that the government borrowed money to be able to build the expressway, which is not true. It was a PPP, okay? It was a public-private partnership project, which those guys will collect the money for X number of years. You know, in every government, when you collect resources, you don't keep them in a store. You don't keep them in a safe. You collect and you pay for bills. KRA collects revenue on a daily basis. KRA uses that money on a daily basis. So when you hear statements of people saying that we went out there and we only found 91 million shillings, where was that money locked? You know, we are paying VAT on a daily basis. We are emitting that money on a daily basis. That money goes out to be able to pay. I think what the president and the deputy president ought to be doing right now is to be asking themselves, what can we do to be able to collect more revenue? What can we do to be able to close all the loopholes? But when you start by making sure that all corruption charges of the CC or the cabinet secretaries that you want to be able to be approved by the select committee are withdrawn, you're setting a very, very bad precedent. You know, in fact, I think Githongo said, it's their time to eat. That's what it is. So the only saving grace is for us to go back to the people and tell the people that you have to be vigilant. Don't expect anyone to fight for you. You have to fight for yourself. So when you look at the economy as having been dilapidated, how has it been dilapidated? There are other external circumstances or external factors that contribute to every economy. If you look at what is happening in Ukraine, whether we like it or not, it has affected tremendously this country. Today, you did a fantastic story, and I hope that the President and also the Ministry of Treasury would be able to yield to that, where farmers, or rather the guys who sell animal feeds, are seeking for an extension to allow them to import duty-free animal feeds. Those are some of the things those are some of the shock absorbers that we have to put in place. So let's not keep on crying, that we inherited a dilapidated country or economy. Let us tell Kenyans, this is what we got, and this is what we intend to do to be able to make it better. Crying wolf is not going to help us.
Yeah, Senator Chergay.
But it is in his interest to protect, because you remember the current president was not part of government from 2018 after the handshake. And it is right for him to defend the handshake government, because then even in Senate, we were de-whipped, the Jubilee then. They became chairs of those committees that belong to the government. They went and appointed a number of them in CS. We saw even the president, our good friend Uhuru Kenyatta, the retired president, saying that he normally consoles Raila Odinga, the big brother, in these matters. When KEMSA and COVID scandal happened, Senator Ledama was in health committee, and most of his friends have been mentioned. So the question is, you must be ready to face the music. Actually, when time comes.
Can we just correct
because no, you will correct later when it's your chance. We are also interested in investigating, in terms of fighting corruption. We want to investigate state capture. We want to know what happens with KQ, the way the deputy president put it across. We want to know what happened. Some of the waivers were given to a number of banks, up to 300 million, and they were able to pay. And that is the money that we lose. So I would have expected Senator Ledama Olekina saying, fight corruption, not only, but including, but not limited to KEMSA, millionaires, COVID days that happened, state capture, a number of Kenya Airways, the issue of banks being given waivers that they did not even deserve. So that is how we fight corruption in an institutional way. But you have to appreciate, Jeff, that corruption did not just start 30 days ago. It is a problem that we have been struggling as a country from 63. We must accept that reality. We must accept that reality. And I want to call upon Senator Ledama. They say, who comes to equity must come with clean hands. He has made serious assertions here. As I conclude, you can write it somewhere. I think you better get him a paper and a pen so that he can be noting, so that he can respond at the time. He who comes to equity must come with clean hands. Senator Ledama Olekina and myself, we were the Bomas Sterling Center. There is some things that happen, and he knows. If today the police will go for him for investigation, for example, this year, he will say the government is fighting me. But he is quick here to say, why are you not charging so and so? Why are you dropping charges? If today we take him to account and tell him, can you account for yourself or what happened in Bomas?
In fact, let's start right there.
I'm happy.
No, let's start right there.
Let me conclude so that you come in. So that I will listen to you, my brother.
All right.
And it's unfortunate that the rungu broke. But if today was be called to account, will he be ready?
Let me
respond.
Let me start from right there. Okay? I'm responsible for any action that I take. Yes. And if this government would like to initiate a commission of inquiry, bring it on, baby. Okay? Let us be very factual. The biggest problem that I have with my colleague is that, and I think now Kenyans are being entertained with what we go through when we are on the other aisle, on the other side of the aisle. My friend Chergay is never consistent in his thinking. He's all over the place. So when I'm trying to follow one issue that he's trying to prosecute, he begins another one before he gets into a conclusion. But I'll try and piece one or two things together, because I've heard him mention stuff to do with KEMSA, that I was in the health committee at that particular time, and my friends were mentioned and all that stuff. That's all hogwash, to tell you the truth. Because I think I joined the health committee much later, after the entire KEMSA scandal. It came up and all that stuff. But the truth of the matter is this. Whatever has happened in this country, there's no way we can continue to agree for people to continue passing the blame. The President, William Ruto, was part of the Jubilee administration. So he's got to take his part of the blame. And now instead of taking that part of the blame and reminding Kenyans that this and this and this happened, make it better. Two wrongs don't make it right. You know, the only way that Mama Mboga out there is going to be able to benefit from all the promises that they made is when he moves out and he shows it through action. Not by talking, not by making statements which can be either misunderstood or taken to mean something completely different. You know, I had the Deputy President today, I think it was today, saying that, let me put it correctly so that the Star newspaper can be able to go in and misquote it. You're responsible for what comes out of your mouth. And the tongue is a very powerful weapon. Whatever you say matters. So the truth of the matter is that this country is in a crisis. Right now, the cost of fuel is quite high. In fact, in a couple of days, the fuel prices will also continue going up. You know,
they said it might fall, actually.
No, I doubt it. And it will be good for us to know how it will fall. Because if we are seeing everything which is happening in this country, you know, the problem we have with these guys, with this new administration, is they're too excited. They are not so sure that they have the powers. You know, I think that's why I said in my tweet, let's give them a couple of months, 3 months. Let them get over the excitement and see the reality. But what Kenyans ought to know is that they were promised that unga will go down to 70 shillings. We want to be able to see that. They were promised free education all the way from primary to secondary. We want to see that. I think when it comes to month 3, we'll now start asking those questions. We'll also, to be pragmatic, we have to wait for the president to be able to bring in his proposals to Parliament. Because currently, he's operating on a budget which he said is going to reduce it by 300 billion. So let him bring a supplementary budget. Let us see how Kenyans are going to get free education. Let us see how Kenyans are going to be able to get unga at 70 shillings. And then, for God's sake, and this I call upon even the religious institutions. You know the challenges with GMO. Let us all say no to GMO. We don't want kids being born with 15 fingers. We don't want our environment being toxic. Jeff, you and I lived in the States. Organic foods are more expensive than GMO. Absolutely. So is that what you really want? So let us try to be pragmatic. And I hope that, when they sit in cabinet, they can be able to look at the entire country. Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of governors are responsible for all the ills and all the corruption in this country. And Kenyans ought to know, and I'm sure my friend will be very happy because he's also in the Park Committee, that in the previous parliament, on the 12th parliament, Senate had been gagged, or rather had been stopped from asking questions about on-source revenue. We are so happy that the Supreme Court now cleared the airways, and they gave us back that power. So when the Supreme Court did that, they did not say that we cannot be retrospective in terms of investigating how the governors spend their on-source revenue. If we are talking about accountability, that is the only way that we are going to be able to take this country ahead. But if we start saying a blame game, people need to remember that we are done with campaigns. The campaign period is over. It is time for us now to sit down and work. Parliament should take its rightful position as another arm of government. Parliament ought to be the oversight body of the executive, but not the extension of the executive. Yeah. The judiciary, the same thing, has got to be, it has to take its position as the body that has been given or mandated to be able to give the power of judgment.
Okay, let me ask Senator Cherargei. Is it too soon are we expecting too much from the president? Like the senator said, how come unga hasn't come down to 70? Why are fuel prices so high? Standard of living is still really high for people. Are we expecting too much too soon?
As I answer that, I want to thank Senator Ledama Olekina. He says, let us be practical, allow the president to bring his proposal. Some of those proposals need to be transmitted into legislative intervention and policies. And I agree with him that also the cabinet and PSS needs to be in place so that it becomes very easy in terms of implementation. I disagree with him on the GMO, because the government, there is no, if he were in Senate or in Parliament, we would have told him to substantiate as per the.
I'll be happy to do that.
But now, since we are on your show,
yes,
or you can call us back next time so that he can table evidence. But I don't believe the government, and government position is very clear, that they would want to implement GMO to the detriment. For us who are farmers, for example, in Nandi, we want to improve production. We want to improve harvest, so that how many millions of Kenyans who are starving now, because there is no food. We have to import maize from Uganda or Mexico. But and we need to agree that if GMO will be introduced, there will be public participation. There will be safety standards that will be put in place that is of international repute, like Food Aid Organization.
The ban has already been lifted.
No, it has been lifted,
yes,
but it will not be implemented in a sweeping way.
What's
the government?
Seriously,
the government.
Jeff, what's the difference?
Probably the seeds are on their way.
My brother here is talking as if we are the only visitors in Jerusalem, that we don't know the dangers of GMO. Let me tell you something. But if you tame nature, my friend, you will live to regret. If you alter your genetic composition, you'll come out with 20 fingers. Is that what Kenyans really want?
No, Ledama, can I finish even? I listened to him carefully, to be fair.
I'm not defending GMO.
Yes.
South Africa has been using GMO.
No, but you see, I'll explain to you why. Because we are giving the Cargills of this world the power to dictate our country, our future. Our young population do not understand the dangers, Right now, most of our people, because of how we have destroyed the environment, depend on antibiotics. The science is out there. Go take a minute and Google. The moment you introduce GMO, any child who is born becomes sort of like resistant to antibiotics. So really, we have to be careful.
Jeff, you cannot allow. I listened to him.
The challenge,
in fact,
Jeff,
he has
let me finish this
taken
point.
my time.
I'll give it to you. I'll give you 10 of my minutes. The problem, Jeff, we have is this. We have a very young population. And I know there's an urge for multinational corporations to be able to come into this market. This is an organic market. Our food, if you call a friend in the UK right now, and ask that friend to go and open their fridge, they will tell you how many products in that fridge are from Kenya. Why should we, instead of us saying we go to Tana River and put in a measure of integrity to make sure that we can be able to wait for the rain, grow 50,000 acres of corn or maize so that we can be able to feed our nation? Why should we allow the Cargills, the multinational corporations, to be able to dictate our future? We can't.
But he's trying to bring a multi-international conspiracy. And even I've had his party leader alleging the same over the elections, which is a story for another day. I think Senator Ledama, Olekina, as leaders, we should be responsible. We should not just make sweeping statements, scare people. You are rumor mongering. We need scientific evidence. And that is why I'm saying give time the government. And that is why when you go to abroad, as he has said, organic food and GMOs are labeled. There are standards and procedures that will allow to be in a controlled environment. We cannot live in isolation for long, Jeff. Things will have to change. Because in as much as Senator Ledama Olekina disagrees, there is always the standards that are provided for in terms of GMO. And I think let us give government time to implement, Kenyans to measure the safety standards are there. Let us also use scientific explanation, evidence. Let us not just say, you'll be born with 20 fingers, 50 fingers. I think that's just a dangerous statement. We are scaring some people somewhere in Narok. And unless he tables evidence, we cannot allow him. Secondly, he has mentioned something about, are we expecting too much too soon? Of course. Why? Because, for example, if we were to sustain with subsidy, we used to spend a lot of billions in only 5 companies in energy when we were using, and we had a lot of argument in Energy Committee. In fact, we passed some censure motion against some CS over the argument why the subsidy money was not being paid for fuel, why we were paying only few companies, the issues of PPPs, even with the issue of electricity. But the president has said, instead of taking a Panadol for just temporary relief, painkiller. Why don't we treat the problem? And that is why, for example, you ask about the high cost of living, specifically food. As we talk today in Narok County, they used to buy, and he's a good farmer, by the way, he's a good farmer. If Ledama was just a farmer, this country would be very far. But when he mixes with politics, now everything goes up. So in this county, he used to buy fertilizer at 6,800. He's now buying it at 3,500. That fertilizer has been, the president has promised in future, and we are convincing, because also Narok and Nandi, we are farming community. We hope in future, in one year or a few months to come, we should at least lower the price of fertilizer to come down. What does that mean? It becomes cheap. We get the fertilizer in time, like this season we didn't get. We get good seeds. We improve production. The food comes to the city. The cost of food goes down, and the cost of living comes down. And it is not rocket science, by the way, Jeff. You and me know that. Unless, and this is basic economics, I think they was taught in St. Mary's or something thereabout. But let me,
Senator, would you plant GMO on your farm? Would you?
Of course, in the regulations, and if the standards and safety that has been put in place. If there is a scientific proof, we need to deal with, even, I'm a lawyer, I deal with facts and evidence. So I cannot just go into a village, and by the way, like alcohol, many people take alcohol. But you cannot say today, this alcohol is underrated, so people will not be taking alcohol. They will still take it. But the point is, there is alcohol that is made well, there is that one that is adulterated, and it kills people. So at the end of the day, the bottom line I'm arguing is that if GMO is implemented in a well-guided environment, regulation and safety standard of Food Aid Organization, World Health Organization standards, and necessary regulated standards, I can tell you, Jeff, even for example, this ndizi we eat, most of them are crafted, and they are part of GMO. Some of these these bananas that we eat. Have we seen somebody with 5 eyes? No, we have not. So let us not scare Kenyans. Let us, like one Senator Ledama, when we appear before JKL again, bring evidence. I'm willing to sit for 2 hours so that we go with scientific evidence. If he convinces me that GMO is not good for the health and the safety of the country, then we can ask the government to look at the policy. But as now, it is just like people saying CBC, we need to rechange CBC or to remove. But we have not seen at the goodness of that CBC before we implement it. So I think Senator Ledama,
I think you should just ask me a new question, because I've tried to follow my brother here, and
but you know,
talk about this and this and this, and he came back to.
But Senator Ledama also, he raised very many questions. He raised whether he was unhealthy. He has raised about GMO. He's also raising about feeds. That the story that you just, and I agreed with him, by the way, about the feeds.
I'm lost.
Okay. No, he was asking, is it too much to ask it too soon?
All right, gentlemen.
Finally, before you go on a break to pay the bills.
How did you know?
The issue, I agree with Senator Ledama on the animal feeds. And I want to appeal to government. I wish Senator Metika Linturi had become the CS. Please, I agree with him. Let us extend the feeds duty that is on the so that you remember there are drought-stricken areas. Yes. They need animal feed. So I agree with them that government should extend that moratorium until even for the next 6 months or 1 year, so that our animals can get feeds and we get milk and a number of.
At least you agree on one thing.
No, so we far. Agree. We agree. We are Kenyans. He's a good man when he's a farmer, not as a politician.
He's also deputy minority whip.
Yes.
Right?
And he's doing a good job.
And you, what are you?
Ordinary ranking member of the Senate.
Let's take a break here. Great conversation about the state of the nation. About a month into President Ruto's role. Let's keep tweeting. I know there's lots of questions, lots of comments at Konanga Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag JK Live. JK Live takes a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Yeah. Please tell this brother.
The league tables are taking shape. Winning on Shabeki.com is getting easier. Enjoy highly boosted odds on the English Premier League, French League 1, Spanish La Liga, Italian Serie A, and many top leagues only on Shabeki.com. Kuwa shabiki. Play now. Strictly not for persons under the age of 18. Betting can be addictive. Play responsibly. Shabiki.com is authorized and regulated by the BCLB. License number 416. Shabiki.com.
Cleans and kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs and COVID-19 in your home. Jig, your family's guardian against germs and COVID-19.
The Insurance Institute of Kenya cordially invites you to their 37th annual conference to be held on 13 to 14 October 2022 at the Lake Naivasha Resort, Naivasha. The theme of the conference is leveraging on emerging trends in a complex financial operating environment to enhance stability and growth. Visit their website at www.iik.or.ke or call 020-233-0277 and 0735-350450 for registration.
Laundry detergents help us maintain good hygiene by removing the soils, grease, stains, and dirt from clothing.
Doffy's strong enzymatic particles remove stains easily. Microcapsule fragrance goes into fibers and give you lasting freshness for the whole day.
Colorful day, wonderful scent.
And welcome back to Jeff Kanage Live here at Citizen Television. Great conversation. I told you, two outspoken senators, Ledama Olekina from Narok and Samson Cherargei from Nandi County. Senator Ledama, let me ask you this. The president clearly has said no handshake.
We don't care about handshake. Why should we have handshake? You know, the thing that people don't understand, and I don't know how I can drill this into their medulla oblongata, especially my brother here, is that we are not in a parliamentary system. We're not in a Westminster system of governance. You know, we don't care about handshake. What we want is, and what I'm pleading, is that Parliament can take its role as an oversight body to oversight an executive, you know, and judiciary to do its work. Those are the things.
Are you ready to play the opposition?
What do you mean opposition? I'm willing to oversight the government. I'm willing to make sure that I correct, I scrutinize, and I make sure that when they are wrong, I tell them straight in their face that this is wrong. The policies they're coming up with, I'm telling them they are wrong. You cannot introduce GMO. My brother here talked about fertilizer. A cabinet secretary who is still a cabinet secretary right now said that, no, we got that for free. Okay, so who is telling the truth? You know, so the thing is, and this is why I say it to you, Jeff, that for me, I'm just holding my horses. You know, for a couple of months, I want to see them having the government completely. I want to see them with all their CSs. I want to see them with all their PSs. I'm glad the court has put a halt on CSs, you know. Then from there, we start working in committees. We want to go back and scrutinize their policies. We want to be able to see, because we will question, we will make sure we tell the public, you know, whether the DPP, whether the ESCC or the criminal justice take the due course of the law. I will do my job as Senator Ledama Olekina because I'm accountable to the people of Kenya. I'm first accountable to the people of Narok, and by a large extent under Article 96 of the Constitution to the people of Kenya. So I'll do my job. And I expect that my colleague here will do it. You know, I mean, he shouldn't be talking as if he's holding brief for the president.
Senator Chergai, let me ask you this.
He's a cabinet, he's a senator.
Yes, let me ask you this, Senator.
Yes, sir.
How does President Ruto reach out to the 6.9 million people who didn't vote for him and the 8 million people in general who didn't vote at all? How does he reach out?
First things first, there is a saying that in leadership, you must make a decision. I agree with Senator Ledama Olekina, but he looks like he's reading from different script. When the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, and myself pointed out in Eldoret that when the PSS and CSS would be appointed, we shall appoint the loyalists and people who are loyal to President William Ruto and who believe in his vision and mission. But the biggest people who are making noise are mostly his people. But I'm happy today he has put that discussion to rest by saying they will be comfortable, they don't want a handshake, they will always oversight the government. And that is what the law provides. Under Article 95, 96 of the Constitution of Kenya, this gentleman has a right as a parliament, both the National Assembly and the Senate. So, Jeff, another second point. The president, in fact, is it the third or fourth point? He has visited Homa Bay. Homa Bay in itself did not vote for William Ruto, largely. I'm not saying all of them.
Correct.
But he visited them and assured that when it comes to development, it will be done equitably and equally across the country. And that is the only way, Jeff, that the president will reach to the other Kenyan 6.9 million and 8 million who did not vote or who voted for Azimio One Kenya Alliance. And the president has assured that. But when it comes to the appointments, of course, anybody, even if they had won the election, they would have rewarded their loyalists. So there is no offense in rewarding the loyalists. And I agree with Senator Ledama Olekina, the president himself. And I think people should remove this notion. In an open democracy, in principles of democracy, it's important to have a vibrant and opposition, because, or minority, I know it's not comfortable with the word opposition, but minority, so that the check and balances is part of the growth of democracy. So that is how those voices who are divergent will have opportunity and inform and shape the policy and the government of Dr. William Samoei Arap Ruto. So I want to assure the country that when this matter, I've heard him talking about, he has raised a lot of issues. I was also trying to follow him, but I only caught him. He has raised the issue of CS. I've seen the Law Society of Kenya went to court. Law Society, I'm a member of LSK. They never consulted me. There's never been a AGM or any other form to call us as members of LSK to go and decide whether to move to court. But that is beside the point. Sure. I don't know whether they have a local standard, but of course under the law, any Kenyan can move to protect Constitution under Article 3. The point is that the CS, this matter, I think the Attorney General and the government will appeal, because Chief Administrative Secretaries, you remember the ruling of the court before, when the retired President Uhuru Kenyatta appointed CS, some individuals went to court. The court said you can regularize. And that is why the PAC went and did public participation. But I don't know why all of a sudden LSK and other individuals decided to go to court without allowing the Public Service Commission to finish public participation. And inform, if Kenyans did not want the Chief Administrative Secretary, allow at least PAC to inform. But I timed that this petition or this matter that went to court is ill-intentioned. It made in bad faith. Because in any case, these Chief Administrative Secretaries, we want a few young people, the hustlers, Mama Mboga, Boda, to be CAS, so that they can be given capacity building to, in future, to become PSS, to become leaders, and to become cabinet secretaries. That is the essence of Chief Administrative Secretary. So I hope the courts, I've not read the substrat of that matter, but I think when it comes to that decision that the court have given, I don't know whether it was an ex parte orders that were just given to the petitioners, but I believe that we need Chief Administrative Secretaries, because it will assist ease of running government. Because you have a PS and CS.
And as a member of LSK, you were not informed?
We were not aware. We just went to, and you know, by the way, this is not the time the LSK has taken a position. You remember during the presidential petition, they were supporting Azimio and Kenya Alliance. Yet the membership of LSK, both sides, as both people in Kenya Kwanza and Azimio and Kenya Alliance. So I don't know what informed some of the decisions that they made. But if they are saying they are doing it on behalf of the public, who are these public? Who are these public that they are working for? They are working for this. Are you for or against CAS, as you were saying earlier on?
No, I think now that you brought the issue, I think for me, we have got to let the courts do their job. And I think once the court has already suspended that, that matter should rest. It shouldn't be appealed. Because to be honest with you, why? Why are we creating more jobs to reward politicians who were rejected by the people? Because you look at the previous administration, I was very clear, even during the previous administration. Why do we reward, members of the Jubilee administration who went to the people to seek to be able to represent them? And the people said no. I think we have to be comfortable with what we've done. I've seen second-term governors now seeking positions as PSs, as some of them will be wanting to seek position as CSs. Why? Let's give other Kenyans an opportunity. And I have no beef with President Ruto appointing his loyalists. I mean, that's his own prerogative. Those are the people who he said he was going to reward. He's good at that. I've got no beef with that. The only problem that I see is that, one, very soon, with the statements that they are both making, the president and his deputy, no one will respect two things. No one will respect any agreements which are made in this country. I think we saw that happening also in the National Assembly with Speaker, what's his name, Wetangula. We are seeing the statements which are being made by the Deputy President. Kenya will be a better country when we allow this democracy to be able to prevail. Everyone was happy. No one went to the streets. People accepted the outcomes, whether they agreed with the results or not. We move on. Right now, the moment that we tell Kenyans it is time to work, let us go and show that. Let us demonstrate. What Cheryl Gay and myself should be doing is we should be scrutinizing legislative proposals which are there. In the last parliament, we had so many legislative proposals that did not make it to be law. We should be actually looking at them to see how they can better serve the 47 million people whom we represent in the Senate.
Senator, by the way, you are the one who was very outspoken. I think it was last week when you were saying young people need to take over.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to repeat that.
And be specific.
Let me tell you.
Let me
tell you.
Yes.
No. It's not even ODM issues. I'll put it this way. You might say correct or you might agree with him or what, but this is what I'm calling upon. I'm calling upon Kenyans, young Kenyans, to be able to demand what is rightfully theirs. I'm asking Kenyans to be able to say, you, Mr. Politician, you promised me this, you must deliver. That is the only time that we'll be able to have a progressive democracy. But what is happening is that, I think Waswahili husema, msitu ni ule, ama nyani ni wale tu kwa ile msitu, whatever. Ni sawa tu. Or I don't know Swahili that much. But the truth of the matter is, I think it's time now that we, the younger generation in this country, who make up almost 80% of the population, it is about time that you now start engaging as politicians on issue-based politics, but not the stories of failed promises.
But I'm talking about you specifically saying,
Oh, yes, I did. I did. I did. And I will be very honest. I did. And I still stand by what I said. That we fought so hard for our part of the coalition. I'm sure other young people did. But sometimes there are certain decisions which are made which are actually retrogressive. Because if you look at the issue of nomination as an example, if you look at Narok County and Kajiado County, the Jubilee political party brought somebody from Nakuru who was a sitting MCA. They denied the women of Narok an opportunity. They denied the youth of Narok an opportunity. I said to Azimio, this is wrong. I said to Jubilee, I remember calling Jeremiah Kioni and saying, this is wrong. That person should not be allowed to sit there. You know, I hear also that in Kajiado, they brought in somebody from Mandera. What about the women in Kajiado? What about the youth and women in Narok and Kajiado? So for me, Jeff, it doesn't matter whether we belong to the same party. If you are wrong, and I'll tell it to you.
And you'll tell your party leaders?
Of course. Why would I not do that? I think, you see, one thing about my party leader, which I give him a lot of credit for it, he is extremely magnanimous, you know, and he is willing to listen. Whenever anyone makes a mistake, he says, okay, if this is a mistake, we'll correct it. And he has corrected it severally. So really, you know, people, you know, and I think sometimes why we have a lot of problems in ODM and also in Azimio is because we allow democracy to prevail. But where these guys are, my friend, it's an iron fist. It is either this way or the highway.
No,
it's that simple.
It's misleading. Let me sit properly so that I handle him properly.
Yes.
One thing, by the way, and I want to congratulate Ledama Olekina. When with him and Babu, they decided to face Babu.
And trust me, we are the future.
And, yes.
Trust me.
Of course. When they,
and I'm glad you said, of course.
Senator Ledama and Babu faced Baba. And courtesy of his fight is now deputy minority leader in the Senate.
Whip.
Deputy minority whip, sorry. So he's fought, and I think Babu is going for something else. You know, in ODM, they believe in...
You don't know ODM.
Some of us used to be in ODM in 2007, before you came from America.
You are a baby. Come on, look at him. No. He was selling milk. He was hawking milk.
Some of us were in ODM those days.
Yes.
So we know what happens in ODM. By the way, when you look leaders that have been nurtured and crowed within UDA and Kenya Kwanza, a number of them are youthful. As to oppose, and we are happy. Even when Senator Ledama Olekina came out, some of us supported because also we believe in youthful leadership. And I give credit to Dr. William Samoei Ruto. He has ensured, even during nomination, when some individuals wanted to mistreat the young people, women, people living with disability, he always said no. And that is why we have quite a number of women that were elected under UDA in government, the women that were elected, a number of them, majority comes from the UDA and Kenya Kwanza. So I agree with him that we need to grow the future, because leadership is about handing over. From where I come from is the source of champions, and we pride ourselves in athletics. You know, I'm a neighbor to Eliud Kipchoge.
Like immediately.
Yes, tunaombana chumvi. So now, you know, you give the next baton to another person. Yeah. So that should be a leadership, and I agree with him.
Is this the new face of the opposition? Is Senator Ledama the new face?
I have seen Kalonzo Musyoka, and I've seen Baba regaining his position today. I see him in Bunge la Mwananchi. These guys wanted to help Baba, and I think Baba has slept in and noticed the young man.
No. Jeff.
Finish. Because we have also seen Kalonzo Musyoka coming out strongly. You saw the statement about GMO. You saw Baba today questioning the high cost of living. Right. We have seen Ledama also questioning more than the flow of the House. And I think this is different for us, is what the President, Dr. William Ruto, agrees with, that let us engage and criticize in a constructive manner and a vibrant opposition, because that's how our democracy will function. So I think when it comes to all these issues that Senator Ledama, and I'm happy, I'll be excited to see him, how he'll serve as Deputy Minority Whip, because I know he's passionate. In the last Senate, he always used to come to Senate. He used to sit. You know, there are people, and I don't want to cast aspersions, that cannot sit even beyond five minutes in the chamber. And we know a number of them I don't want to name. But Senator Ledama could engage, could stay. And I remember during the revenue formula, we were together trying to approach bipartisan. So I hope also and wish him well as he serves as a Deputy Minority Whip, so that we can see, and us in the backbench, and ordinary members of the Senate, ranking members, we shall ensure we work together. You know, by the way...
can you engage me for a moment? You said there's some senators who come in for 5 minutes and then they take off, or...?
Yeah, they were never elected. They were never elected. So they are at home. They are taking care of what
you know. Let me, you know, the problem with this guy is that he doesn't start a statement and finish. I don't know what he's afraid of. If he's referring to Gideon Moi has always said it very clearly that, and which I agree with him, that in the Senate, we don't only work in plenary, we work in committees.
Yes.
So he might have chosen to work in committees as well, you know? And he did a good job. Credit to him. He was the chair of ICT, and then later on, I think he came to chair security. But the truth of the matter is, it is now time for the younger generation to be able to take their place in this country. And my appeal to the younger generation is this. You know, you now need to smell the coffee. You need to get up. You know, there's nothing you're going to be able to get